Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast, episode 149. Today, we are joined by fellow Southeast PA lineage, right? The man, Sadeq. Very, very good follow on Twitter. Make sure you follow him. Sadeq Wahab. It's also linked down below. Instagram, too. Right there. But Sadeq, you just turned 20, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
September.
Exact old school Chad Scaler, Retail Arbitrage, outlets, OA. Really seen this guy come up the past year. Big fan of yours. Make sure you guys are following him on the social and such. But you just kind of want to talk through, exactly who you are, what you do, and then we'll dig into your story as well.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you boys for having me. My name's Sadeq, 20 years old. I'm in college right now. I do around $100K a month on Amazon. And then I started Amazon back in August of last year. And before that, I was doing sneaker reselling for the past 3 years. So it was like a pretty fluent transition for me to go from sneaker reselling to Amazon.
So what was like the initial appeal to Amazon, right? You mentioned when you started. What was like the initial traction that kind of brought you in, sucked you in, that gained your attention, that kind of led to everything else happening?
Yeah, there was two things. The first thing was bulk shipping. So back when I was doing eBay and Goat and StockX, I was literally essentially FBMing every single order where I'm shipping every single order individually. But for Amazon FBA, you can use prep centers and you can bulk ship to Amazon and let things sell through. And then the second thing was the pure volume. So like for Go, I think like my best day, I was doing like 30, 40 sales per day. But like Amazon, I can do a couple hundred, depending on the season.
Yeah, facts. I remember because that's what I did for like years. And I remember in 2019, it was like right when I got back to college in January 2019, I was like, dude, I just want to wake up to one sale every day. Cause I started reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad and shit. And it was talking about like making money in your sleep and stuff. So yeah, like that's the cool part is, right? Like there's so much more volume on Amazon and that's why it translates so nicely. There's just also, it's a little bit more complicated. You got to do ungating, you got to have a seller account, you got to get verified for your seller account, but it transitions nicely. And so what was it like initially on Amazon? Were you doing mainly RA? Were you doing mainly OA, and then how to grow over time?
I started OA for like the first 4 months because that's what I was doing for eBay and Goat as well. And then I did like 7K for my first 4 months straight. And then December of last year, I did like 14 or 15K in revenue. I was like, oh my God, I barely even did anything. I need to hop on this. So the beginning of this year, January, February, March, I just focused on sourcing as much as I could. And then I started hitting the outlets too, because there's one local near me. And I just really scaled it up in the beginning of this year.
So sourcing is going to be the piece that I think holds a lot of people back in terms of like reaching the heights that they ultimately want to. So walk us through your progression, right? What sorts of tactics you were using in the beginning of your kind of sourcing journey, how that progressed, and ultimately what you kind of do it now.
Yeah, so when I started for OA, it was just a ton of reverse sourcing just so I get used to what retailers have, what sales and what kind of products they carry and whatnot. But I was sourcing for like 6 to 8 hours a day for a couple of weeks straight. I was just trying to get as good as I can. That way it's easier later because I'm just front loading all the work. And then for retail arbitrage, I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours my first trip ever, just because I was scanning every single clothing piece and every single shoes. But over time, I get used to, or I become familiar with what does well and what's the most profitable types of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of develop that sixth sense, right? You have that sort of intuition that says, yeah, I can see this selling for about 2 times what I can buy it for, or probably not so much.
Yeah, and you start to recognize pricing as well. What do you think goes into finding a lot of good stuff at the outlets? Is it mainly going when they have friends and family going on? Is it mainly going in on weekends? Is it looping the like account signups? Like, because I know you actually do the Adidas outlet too a lot, right?
I used to. I'm mainly like Nike right now, but
Okay.
I only go when there's a site-wide sale or
store-wide.
Yeah. So if they have like a 20% or 30%, that's the only time I'm hitting it. And they have to have it on shoes or the whole store. Otherwise, it's not really worth it. I'd rather just put my time into OA. But
how do you get notified? Like, how do you know when they have the sales going on?
I have employees now that text me, but before I was just calling every single Thursday at 10 a.m. when they open. Hey, do you guys have a sale in store this week? And they'll just tell me.
How often do they think? Is it like a couple times a month, a couple times a quarter, a couple times a year?
It's like once every 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
like, so like relatively like probably like Yeah, so you enough where you can clean up when it does happen, and it makes sense to kind of be tracking it and everything.
Yeah, and when that does happen, I'm going the 6 days it happens from the Thursday to the Wednesday, and I'll send the boys to my bodies as well to
The
help.
bodies.
That's the best term in all of reselling. Not even close. Bodies for if you need to bring someone.
So how'd you get like the numbers and like that sort of association to be able to get notified?
But a lot of it just happened by accident. Like I have a couple other like brand accounts as well for like in stores for like retail arbitrage, but it's just being friendly, talking to the employees, seeing what's up. Like I got another Nike employee that's helping me out right now too. It's just you're just talking to them, you're being friendly. Like one wants to sell on Amazon, so I'm just telling them, hey, get seller amp, get keep, but sending them you guys' videos just so they learn, and then in exchange they'll help me out.
Sure. And then I know you talk a lot about FBM in terms of this specific season, right? We're filming this on November 15th. Are you already, or 16th, are you already seeing FBM movement, or are you still sending in FBA shipments and waiting for FBM to detonate in early December and like Black Friday?
Yeah, I'm getting my last few FBA shipments out like today and tomorrow, and then after that, I'm just full FBM. Like I was telling Garrett before this, I have the garage fully set up, and I'll have the college boys come and help FBM all December.
Boom. Yeah, exactly. For all the young kings listening, right? The bedroom, that's a necessity, right? The garage, you might have to fight for, but you're going to get it regardless, right? You're going to get it, right? Cause you know, they might not, but then once we start talking like dining room, table, living room, that's when you're going to be fighting battles. So you better be making a lot of, you know, shit better be moving. They bet, you know, the parents better see the
Yeah,
product going out.
you need the screenshot to be like, yo, this is working. Let this happen.
You need beautiful orange bars to justify potentially getting the dining room table and such and everything. I was like, Nick tweeted that day. He's like, just talk to the wife like she said the dining room table's fine. And I was like, all right, well, that's another some shit like that. That was pretty funny. As well. Do you ever see yourself cutting out the RA part of the operation? Because that's like a super, super lucrative thing that's pretty much available to most people, but I feel like a lot of people sleep on it. So why do you think they do?
They're just being lazy, bro. The RA has like the most margins ever, especially if you're having like the employees help you out too. They might be able to stack a discount code or whatever. It just makes it even more lucrative. So I'll probably just have the bodies keep going, and because they live across the street from me, they'll just come drop off the shoes to my garage when it's time. But yeah, I'm not cutting it out anytime soon.
And this is the outlets.
Yeah.
And then how do they know what to buy? Because that's like the you know, because theoretically RA is very, very scalable if you can get people that know what to buy or you tell them what to buy. But how do you actually manage that system? Because like pretty much anyone relatively close to a major metro area has outlets near them available. A lot of people just sleep on it.
Yeah, I'll go with them for like a week of sales just to show them. Like I'll spend a couple hours with them, showing them seller amp, showing them Keepa, telling them, hey, these colorways normally do well, and I'll just be with them for about a week. It's not difficult. You just scan the seller amp. If all the buttons things are green, it's good, and then you just check the Keepa for price inflation. That's like really it.
Well, even still, like with RA, you can inherently buy into a bit more temporary markets just because things are happening quicker, right? You're not going deep on products. You're only getting 5. So even if a market is maxed out, it's not like we're talking about having to rely on months and months and months worth of data. We only need like 2 weeks of stability, right? With a lot of the faster stuff, maybe even less than that. Of course, if you're FBMing, even less than that, right? So there's a lot of value in, and it's not as technical, I would say, as OA. Have you always kind of been into clothing and shoes? And if so, what was your kind of like draw to that, right? Obviously, Miles was probably a pretty good influence in that, but was there anything else that was like pretty appealing for you with that?
That's just where I came from sneaker reselling before that. Like growing up, I always played basketball. I always wanted the newest Kobe's or Kyrie's or whatever. I remember in middle school, if I got straight A's during a quarter, my parents would buy me a new shoe. So I just always loved shoes. So that it made sense to transition to sneaker reselling and then eventually Amazon.
Sure.
And in terms of the beginner seller listening, do you have any sort of advice or guidance or take in terms of maybe what sorts of products that they should be looking into?
Yeah. I would just go retail arbitrage to begin with and just scan everything. It's just the easiest, and you'll get the quickest feedback as well when you're listing FBM.
Yeah, the quickest feedback part's huge, dude. Because like, you know, if you want to OA something in FBA, you might not know how that did for 3 or 4 weeks. But if you RA and FBM something, you'll have a pretty good sense, especially if other people are FBMing it. you're in 0-day handling time. If you can be, right, you're using a repricer, which you should be, right? You know, you're going to know pretty quick if that was a good purchase, and that like accelerates your learning a ton too, which is really, really beneficial. So, being that right now you're already doing good volume, I know what's your goal for December?
250. I was aiming for over 300, but Amex is hating right now.
Amex hating on the kid. Okay. So what does that look like, do you think, in terms like setup? Like, is that daily trips to the outlets? Obviously, it's, I'm sure, a lot of OA replanning and such. Because you haven't really had you haven't had a big Q4 yet, right? This is obviously the time to do. But like, what are kind of your thoughts? And obviously, I'm sure you learn a lot. But like, what are you kind of planning in terms of making sure that happens?
Yeah, I front loaded a lot. Like it's like 100K cost of goods FBA shipment, and then I'll send like everything from Black Friday to my house, and then I'll just FBM it all with the boys. So I think I should be good for
Oh, so
250.
you already have 100K buy cost in stock at FEA?
Yeah, it's all in transit or
Oh,
sitting there.
wow. Okay, cool. So you'll be able to do
Yeah.
it then. Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting dance between like, do I sell it quick to get the money back quicker, or do I keep the prices high? You know what I mean? It's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like especially too, because like for people who might not be familiar, and especially if you're listening to this, you might, you know what I mean? Like stuff starts going to the moon like early December. You can do keep a product finder searches for price increases, keep a product finder search for demand increase, and then filter by price increase, competition decrease, then filter by price increase. You can do it, but watch Garrett's videos on YouTube for anyone listening who wants the walkthroughs of that. So like literally Keep will just tell you what the best performing products are, and it's really easy to execute. And then you just got to make sure you're getting on these listings as quick as possible. That means listed, hopping on, getting the buy box FBM, and good things will happen. Too, in terms of like what you really picked up from last year Q4, and just kind of in general, having now been in the space for around a year, like whether it be like mistakes people make Q4 oriented, or just like things you're doing that you didn't last year that you think will really be able to execute on?
I kind of did like 15K last December by accident. I just had stock that I listed, and I was just selling through stuff I got from a Nike sale. So like I'm going into this like basically fresh and brand new. So I'm just trying to figure it out.
Sure. And the cool part is you have a great squad of dudes you can do it with, right? We got obviously all the people on Twitter and such. And I think, because I remember you would always come to the Zoom calls. When did you actually start really getting on like your own account, chopping it up? On Twitter, I feel like it's specifically, and Discord is where I really know you. But what kind of made you do it on your own, and when did you start to do that? And was that a major catalyst, do you think?
I started Twitter in the beginning of this year, but before that, back in August when I started, I had my own group of like guys I was doing sneaker reselling with too. So we were just learning it together. And then yeah, I would say it was a major catalyst. Like there's people ahead of the road than you, and they want to help you. If you're a cool person and you're just, showing that you're putting in the effort, people want to help you. And it's like there's plenty of bigger sellers who know way more than you. So if you can talk to them, they'll give you stuff you don't know yet. So like for example, like TDH Sneakers, Tim and Sawyer, I was talking to the other day, and they're both way ahead of like the path than me. And I'm just chopping it up with them, hanging out, getting some info,
Even if you're not cool, there's people for everyone. Even if,
Yeah.
even if you don't have a personality, there are people for everyone in the space. It's that big on Twitter. You can kind of find your niche, find your squad, even even if you're
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
fair.
and cool is obviously very subjective and such too. But yeah, and everyone's lonely doing it too, because basically no one has. I mean, unless you're in Southeast PA, you probably have no one to hang out with, or at least you haven't found them yet, right? If you're in Southeast PA, it's very, very easy to find all of us, right? Luckily, all hang out because we all exist on the internet, so we gave ourselves a chance to meet each other, right? Unfortunately, I know there's a lot of you guys listening in Los Angeles, a lot of you guys in Houston, a lot of you guys in New York that are all cool, but you don't exist enough on the internet to where you guys probably haven't met each other yet, right? Those exist everyone. You need to be finding that because it make your life a lot easier. So well, do you do all your own sourcing yourself, or do you have any VAs?
No, I do all my own sourcing myself. I prefer to do it that way. Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, and it's the nice part is you have like, you're in PA, so it's sales tax advantage. You can FBM. You need to have that system in place and such. So what's the spread of RA and OA currently?
It's like 80-20, 80% OA, and then when the sales hit, it's like turns into 50-50.
Sure, but it's just having that infrastructure in place to get notified of those sales, to be able to adequately take advantage of them and such is the big thing. And then do you prep center up, or do you all prep in-house?
No, I have a prep center. I send all the OA stuff too.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice. And you'll eventually just transition that over to sending to yourself to get the FBM ripping next week?
Yeah.
Garage locked and loaded. You have to send us a picture of what it looks like. Kind of shifting gears a bit, right? We talked off camera about how your brother has had some success with internet money. Was there any sort of back and forth in terms of like your parents and kind of what they thought about this whole thing that you got going on? Obviously, you're in college with hopes of kind of cutting that short. So kind of just talk the viewers through the whole engagement process with your parents.
No, they're big believers. I love my parents, and they're my
That's
mom's
beautiful. That's awesome. I mean,
bro.
mine is the same way. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. My mom ran like a local, like, I don't even know what it is actually, but it's like a Wawa. But
Oh,
she ran one of those. Yeah, yeah. So like she's big into like the wholesale stuff and whatever. And I've never had to fight with them or anything. I would, as soon as I finished my job when I was 16 at Papa John's, went right into sneaker reselling and was making the same 1,500 I was making back at Papa John's. And like once that happened, I one convinced myself, and I convinced them as well that internet money is possible,
yeah,
basically.
bro. The convincing yourself the actual important one, right? Just that you can do it, right? Because if you think you can do it, you're going to do it even when it's hard, to the point where you have done it, and then you get confident, and it just all branches out, over there. Because you're going to have obviously boatloads of opportunities. Significantly evolved over the past year and a half you've been doing it, and such as well. So obviously, Garrett and I feel like we should talk about this more often. But you have a big athletic background, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Exactly.
played
Yeah, 'cause
basketball
you
all my
hoop
life.
together. Sure,
Yep.
exactly. Right. So how do you see a lot of that stuff translate? Because I think like a lot of people have a really good outlet with sports, and like specifically like high school and stuff. And I think they lose a lot of that. And I think Amazon gives you some of that, in that like you can, there's like aggression involved, right? You can do it with your homies, right? You know what I mean? There's
I
a
mean, it's
lot
just the
of
competitiveness. The normal person, not the normal, the typical person needs a way to exhibit competitiveness on a daily basis, right? Not everyone gets to be able to compete in sports. This is an opportunity to do that. Whether you're competing with your previous month's sales, your previous week's sales, someone else's sales, friends, homies, whatever. This is a way to kind of demonstrate that competitive nature that the human brain is inherently geared for.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I tweeted about this recently too. It's like the hard work you put into getting better at basketball, or getting better at sports. It'll show up later when it's time. So back to school, or like Q4, right? And or like month over month growth. And then it's like the competitive nature as well, Garrett's talking about, because we don't really have that once you're like done, unless you're in like a men's league or whatever, right?
That's what I'm
But
saying, yeah.
yeah. But like your bars month over month could be like your thing of improvement. So
Yeah, and you got to, yeah, like that's where all the happiness lies too. It's in the working towards the goals and such as well, and just in general, right? Yeah, like competitiveness, camaraderie, right? Team environment, right? And such, because like, if specifically like salary jobs, there's not really much reason to get better, reason to improve. Meanwhile, when you do this, you eat what you kill entirely, right? If you do terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. If you don't show up and perform at a sports game, like you look like a moron. What's not super public in terms of the Amazon side of things and everything, but that's like super cool. And I think there's a lot of people that could totally see that come to fruition, right? If they really, really got after it, got in the community, find people they really liked, like it would be a super similar environment. And it's a lot of fun too, because like I'm sure like we literally like just banter all day in that group chat. There's a couple of group chats actually, like, and it's just like so much more gets done. And that also doesn't necessarily feel like work. It's a very unique thing. You know what I mean? To have that sort of environment and such. What do you think kind of is the blueprint? Because you've obviously done a pretty good job, but I feel like Garrett and I have done, pretty good job as well in terms of actually integrating yourself into the community, making friends. What does that actually look like for the person who currently, hasn't done any of that, but wants to, because they hear us talking about it a lot?
Yeah, make a Twitter and Instagram account. Make sure you put a profile picture. Don't be a weirdo.
Don't be a weirdo.
And then and then just
There is
post
a place
whatever
for the biz tanks of the world, though. The
Well,
pickle
yeah,
Rick.
but now if you're going to be anonymous, you need to compensate with extraordinary banter and personality for going to. You can't be a droid.
Yeah. And then post whatever you're doing. If you order 10 units from a retailer, obviously don't post the unit, right? But just post like the box coming, or like if you do your first FBA shipment, or you're getting your first couple of sales, just post it. People want to see like what you're doing,
Yeah, people want to be friends with people doing stuff, right? So if you
Yep.
document, like, the cool part too is like if you've sold anything on Amazon, you're substantially further along than the vast majority of the people that are consuming content about the stuff online. Right?
Yep.
Like most people are like, all right, I don't want to start documenting stuff because I'm not far enough. No, you haven't done anything yet. And that's exactly why you need to, because you need to find people to build with, grow with, stuff like that. Just in terms of like tactical OA sourcing, just like the biggest bottleneck is obviously making items problem, right? So how do you actually go ahead and do, like, what are some of the tricks you use in terms of like finding different discounts on different websites and just overall like sourcing OA efficiently, because you're clearly deploying a lot of capital on a month-to-month basis. So what does it actually look like?
Just finding coupon codes, like Coupon Bird, and then Capital One Shopping is pretty good too. Discounted gift cards, obviously, you'll get a couple percent points down. And
Where gift cards from where? To like what specific sites do you like?
I just use Card Cash, Card Cash and Top Cash Back.
Top Cashback's lit too, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Those are the two. And then that's like basically the way I manufacture the margin. And then I'll just source from like sales as well, just so things are already below retail.
Yeah, and the big part too is eventually you realize your favorite websites, your favorite discounts, and you only got to learn your favorite websites once, right? You only got to learn the discount for a certain website once, if it's an email sign-up coupon or whatever that you can use again and again, basically, and such. If you could do back the like August, it's like 15, 16 months, whatever, that you've been doing it, what would you do differently that you think could get you there a lot quicker?
Oh my God, I would have got business capital so much quicker. Like I didn't get it till like May of this year. Like I was doing 40K a month with like straight debit. So I would have went back and I would have got
You
the
got a
plum.
bunch of cash back too. Yeah. I was the
Yeah.
same way, actually. Interesting.
Yeah. Bro, I would get the plum and I would RA FBM with the plum for the first 6 months and build up so much money.
Yeah.
Sure. And you kind of want to explain how the plum works for people who might not be familiar, because it's totally my favorite option for that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, typical credit card. You use it and then you have 30 days to pay. And then the plum is special because you have double the time. You have 60 days to pay from when the statement starts. So if you're doing RA to FBM, you can go pick it up. You'll have the shoes or apparel, whatever it is, in hand same day. You can list it same day, and you can potentially get a sale same day as well. Once it's delivered, you'll get a payout within like 10 to 14 days, and then you have enough money to pay off the plum.
Boom.
Before the 60 days. Yep.
Exactly. Right. And the key is that really gets exaggerated when we're talking about FBM. I mean, this time of year, you're getting multiple cycles of one product in just within a couple weeks. Buy, sell through the test buy, replenish, buy a little bit more, test buy, sells, re-click, replenish a little bit more. Another point on the RA side of things that I didn't mention, one thing is going to be super applicable for a lot of you guys this year is, especially if you're sourcing from a lot of the biggest websites, always see if they have those in stock locally. You can do pickup orders. There's a ton of good opportunity with that. I do a ton of that during Q4. I'll be home in Pennsylvania in like 3 weeks, doing a lot of that, getting stuff listed same day and everything, which is pretty cool as well. What are your plans for the future of the Amazon business or other businesses in general?
Next year I want to start wholesale a little bit. My whole goal here is I want to do 2 to 3 million next year revenue. I'll probably finish just under $1 million this year, but
what do you
I think I'm at like 650, 700.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you really got
yeah.
See,
I got to pump.
What the cool part is that's actually trends to very, very similar to what mine was a year ago. And then I like really squeezed it and hit $1 million on December 21st, 2021.
Nice.
So you're gonna have a shot. Like it just depends on endurance of like, do you want to sit in 0 to handling time? Can you get extra?
Oh no, I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all. It's gonna be the capital, but we'll see. But yeah, just 2 to 3 million for OA, a little bit of wholesale, and just figure it out from there. I don't really have any crazy plans next year except for scaling more.
Any plans for a warehouse, keeping all in house?
No warehouse, just
no
prep
warehouse.
center.
Interesting.
Smart man.
Specifically, I like what you said in that you don't really have plans to change much because it's currently working, right? That was such like a reassuring thing. I feel like I spent so many years fucking around like business model hopping and such, and it was so reassuring like going into 2022, because 2021 is when Garrett and I really figured it out, right? It was so reassuring knowing exactly what I was going to do, knowing that there was going to be another huge Q4 and then a big Q4 after that, right? So it's like pretty nice, pretty good feeling, because I know you messed around with some different making money, and you have family members doing cool stuff too. So I'm sure it's like a nice reassuring thing to kind of know you got a winning system finally that you can just build with, basically.
Yeah, if it's not broke, I'm not going to try to fix it. Like I'm just going to keep scaling because I know it works.
Yeah, exactly too. And it only keeps compounding too, in that your favorite sites, you learn more sites. Your favorite brands, you learn more brands. Your favorite SKUs, you find more good SKUs hanging out around there, right? Because you get better over time. You really start to see the compounding effect. Because like if you guys have only been doing this a few months, you haven't even had a chance for it to get easy. Yeah. Right. Because you don't really get to eat up during Q4 until it's like your second one and you saw the volume. You saw that item go out of stock that you knew you could have bought more, but you didn't this year, right? And it's so next year is when it's, you know, really gonna, you know, kick off and such. But like, you know, everyone can experience life-changing volume this time of year too. Just be ready. Black Friday sales and such next week. Everyone listening. And then where can people find you online, Sadeq?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's Sadeq Wahab.
Cool.
Yeah.
Follow the man. You got Prep Talk episode as well, right?
Yep.
Hell yeah. Shout out to the Prep Talk.
Let's go.
Right there. So yeah, guys, check out Sadeq. Hit his DMs. Yeah. Oh, you got the black one in too.
Bro, that's why I told you, give me 5 minutes. I have to throw it
Yeah,
on.
facts, bro. Facts. I don't even have the black one. Yeah, check out the Rise and Grind merch as well from the boy Pete's Flips. Wedding applications, we're closing those soon. So make sure you hit up Pete's Flips on those. Or myself, right? Or I guess Warner, because someone said Warner one too. Right there. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming on, Steve.
Yep.
Cool. See you guys soon.